how strong is Zada in this game? He's not top tier. He's like, most people say he's like low bottom. Johnny's dash is Geo's dash, but it's like way better because look at how much meter he builds for dashing forward. In fact, Johnny, I think Johnny literally has the highest tension pulse in in Guilty here. But like with a dash, he's the highest. People did say like the Grappler's tier list in Xrd was Johnny, Soul, and then Potemkin. Johnny is really strong, but like I don't know, balance in this game is not the same as like in other games. I think it's very important to remember that. Johnny is really good, but actually, you know, there's something I wanted to talk about. I never thought about this before, but this is actually, I think, one of the biggest problems in fighting games. I think one of the major problems that a lot of people have actually like growing in Strive is actually in the fact that, let's say like top player will complain about top tier. It doesn't matter how justified it is, right? Like let's say like I complain about happy kills, right? Theoretically, happy kills can be super fucked up, right? What happens in a lot of the situations is like someone in like floor 7 or like floor 8 will hear that and be like, they'll play against a happy chaos or something, or like, you know, someone that's not doing the strongest stuff, right? And they'll just think like, oh, this is the worst shit, I can't do anything against it and I have to hold it, right? I was thinking about that with Strive because someone brought up, like, they were talking about how fucked up Happy Chaos was last version, right? They were like, Happy Chaos is like, the zoning was too good. It linked like a video of them playing against Happy Chaos, and the Happy Chaos didn't even guard Crush Zone. It was literally just like the regular zoning. Like if you just did like steady aim, reload, regular shot, wait, and like waited every time. As a result, they were like, it's literally just the regular zoning, right? Like it's just regular zoning, but people were like, oh, this character's that fucked up. He's fucked up. You can't get in on him. But they thought that people that were doing like the basic zoning, like you can't beat it. It's impossible. They actually blocked their own improvement by like listening to a top player and like thinking that like the experience was lined up. And all it was is they just didn't know what was going on and they just listened to like a top player, right? A preconceived notion, right? Which like that can happen a lot of the time. So it's like interesting because I never thought about that. Like I thought like, oh yeah, like everyone just hates the character. It's one of the worst actual ways to actually like learn the game is if you use top players excuses or like tiers as an excuse without understanding what's happening. Because not only does it block your improvement, right? Like in the layer of like you assume that the character is stronger than they are. And the worst part about this, like 100%, is that it does not matter to the top player if you do that or not. It's worse for you. By you listening to the top player, you've made the situation worse for yourself and you have to get out of it, right? The problem with like character strength is a lot of times, like even at very high levels, players don't play matchups perfectly. It's basically just like a situation where you just use someone's word and then just assume for it. Basically, if you don't understand how to play a character or play against a character, tier lists are irrelevant, right? But a lot of people just think like the experience is like one-to-one or linear. But it's like another case where like you can't really trust your own gut because like some people just like they have an ego and they're just like it's easier for them to deflect into something like that, right? You know, like a good way to think about it is like, you know, people like, let's say your friends are all like going out and they don't invite you. A lot of people like they would be like spiteful, right? But it wouldn't be that the action itself, the action of them like leaving you out isn't what makes you spiteful. It's that you felt lonely or like hurt by it. Like you got sad, right? There's a step that we ignore. That's like one of the cases where like we have to like really dissect like why are we defaulting to this sort of feeling, right? One of the most common experiences a lot of people have is like they win or like they excel in tournaments or like some sort of small like friend group, right? They excel and do really well, and their basis of understanding like their competition and how to compete is essentially just that they win a lot or they do really well, right? I'm giving like a whole ass TED talk, but like Axel and Ram are just like going ham in the background. But they may be the friend that's good at video games, right? Or they may have a local that's like they dominate. And then as a result, their basis of what to expect is entirely based on their success and how they were successful earlier. Which means some people may end up growing up to have this like very performance-based mindset. It's a matter of them underperforming rather than like a normal experience, right? Some people like do that and then they get into mindsets of like, I have to be this good, this fast. I need to do this fast, or do that fast. Like I heard that a lot during early Strive where they're like, Like, I have to be good within a certain amount of time. Shit like that just like kills you. It's like one of the worst feelings ever. Almost like every mistake you can have it can almost always be traced back to like something like that. Like, it's that bad. Why do you have performance-based mindset even though you've never won anything? So like, here's another aspect, and this is something that was applicable to me. I looked up to top players just because like they were good at something I enjoyed as a hobby, and as a result, like, I valued their position as like just someone that played their hobby and was good on it. As a result, I wanted to be a top player for no reason other than for the status symbol. Essentially, even back then, like, my goal was unhealthy. A lot of my mentality comes from the fact that like I went through a tournament career experiencing all of this stuff and it didn't help me, right? Like I felt that way, like I had to win, or like I had expectations where I was like, I'll never lose to this guy, but I'll always lose to this guy. Like, even when I won tournaments, I mean, even when I won EVO, I was not satisfied. Like, every tournament I actually ended up winning as I went along Xrd, I was just like not happy. Like, every accomplishment I made, I was just like, there's someone better doing something greater. The further you go, if you compare yourself, you're gonna be like deeply unsatisfied. The thing about playing purely for status is like, some people get like consumed by it, you know what I mean? That's like the real problem. There's a lot of things like that can be fine. Being recognized can be good, right? It can be helpful. It's just a lot of people only care about it. But as I started doing better, I started caring more about doing better than actually performing better. Now, the funny thing about that is I had that mindset from 2017 to 2019. I did not win a tournament until I specifically lost that mindset. Let me tell you guys a thing, right? I'm gonna tell you guys a little secret. If you ever become a dominant player in any game, there's a period where you're very dominant, and then there's gonna be a period where people specifically start trying to catch up. So, like, the game first came out, a lot of people studied the shit I stole from like old like Xrd. For example, the throw S. Like, the throw S in Xrd was like considered not that great, but it was okay for Soul. For like, there's a lot of reasons, but we can get into that later. As a result, no one does it at the start, right? Then over time, people start incorporating it because it's good. That's a process of as the game develops, right? Like, when I say it like that, it's obvious. But a lot of people don't understand that that's like a natural process, and they just think like, oh, I'm gonna be good forever, or like people gotta really catch up or some shit like that. Like, essentially, people don't view a lot of things changing. Like, it's like things start changing, and then they start like, they're not ready for how it's changed. You know, a lot of people like in Strive, I think a lot of like the top players, they had like a weird experience where, like, I shouldn't say they don't give a lot of credit or respect to people, but like the mindset is different. A lot of the time when, like, let's say Hitachi or someone would win like a major, people would be like, oh, it's just Nago, so who gives a fuck? Like, it's just, oh, it's a top tier, of course they win. And then, like, you know, like someone else wins, like they're like, even though it's like not Naga, it's like, oh, it's Leo, right? And they're like, I won with Leo, like it's a big deal. They're happy, they're satisfied, they're like, I really want to win a major, it's a big deal. And then they do it, and then everyone's like, I don't give a fuck, you play Leo. And it just loops, and everyone just hates on each other, and they're just like all unhealthy, and they're all unhealthily like unhappy with each other, like refusing to recognize each other. It's so weird. It's like shit like that happens so much. So like now, like, no one's happy with. More people talked about Slash getting second with May, right, than Umisho winning Evo, because most people were just like, oh, it's Happy Chaos, who gives a fuck? But we got Slash. Slash is very, very good, but like, you get what I'm talking about, right? Like, it's weird in that sort of way, because like that sort of thing never happened in Xrd. Everyone literally thinks like everyone but me is carried, and then like they win, and then they're like, wait, you think I'm carried too? How you like view character strength is usually assessed on like, it's usually based on the game you come from and the way it's forced you to play or encouraged you, right? So like for me, like Johnny, for example, he was the top tier, like Alpha and Johnny are the top tiers I dealt with. So usually when I play against top tiers that just make me block for a long time, I don't really mind them. Like mid dispensers, like Old Soul and like Johnny, I don't care about that much. I think I'll never care about them, no matter how strong they are. Like it's hard for me to like view them in that way, just because like I'm so used to dealing with them, right? The thing about like new players in Strive, if you play like only Dragon Ball, like a lot of the top tiers in Guilty Gear will feel like monsters to you. Whereas like some players from like KOF, for example, were like, I remember there's one KOF player who played Xrd, I forgot his name, but he was always like memeing on people for like saying that they thought Alpha was good. Oh, it's because like they used to play in the air. They played some character in the air all the time against Alpha, and they just like smoked all the players because of it. But like they played in a way that like people were not used to, that as a result, it shifted their experience.